Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the topic difference between hardware, firmware and software. Before going to the CCNA or the beginning of the CCNA course, we have the knowledge of the firmware, software or hardware. What is the difference between these three? Let me discuss today. Okay. So, what is hardware? Hardware is a device such as our mobile, laptop, or any other hardware which we can touch. Okay. So let me start with the discussion of hardware. Hardware, it is used to refer to the physical component of any electronic device such as the CPU, peripheral devices and its memory, or we can say that our mobile phone, laptop, tablets and other things. So the peripheral devices is such as mouse, UPS, all the external devices. Okay. So let me write. It is used to refer to the physical components of any electronic devices such as CPU, peripheral devices, and its memory. Okay. Then our firmware is a set of instructions or a program written in machine language which are used to operate hardware. Instructions or programs written in machine language which are used to operate hardware. Let me explain you. This is our hardware device. Okay. And this is our firmware. Hardware such as our mobile phone. Okay. And this is our operating system. OS. This is our MS Office, Chrome. So these are our application software. And this is our system software. Firmware and in hardware, firmware is installed. Okay, this is our system software. This is our application software. Okay, so firmware is a type of instruction, just like we have a washing machine. Okay, so when we set a timer, the firmware will tell the mechanism to do this. Just like of 4 seconds, we are doing this. For 15 seconds, it will round for the 20. Okay, so it is a firmware type of instructions. Okay, then our software. Software is a collection of instructions that tells the computer how to perform a particular task. Okay, just like we are using Microsoft Office, it is helping us to calculate the um, our accounts in MS Excel. We can do our notepads on the Word. Okay, so we have two types of software. First is our system software, such as our operating system. Second is our application software. Okay, so the second difference between hardware, software, and firmware is the hardware. It is a physical unit of device. We can touch it. Okay, let me discuss. Okay, hardware is a physical unit of device. Firmware, it is a set of instructions. Third is software. It is generally stored in user accessible memory. Generally stored in user accessible memory. Third is hardware is a complete unit or a device. Complete unit or device. Then our firmware is stored in our hardware. Stored in our hardware. Okay. Not accessible to user. The firmware is not accessible to user. Software is changed constantly. We can change our software constantly. Okay. So hardware can be changed after production. Can be changed after production. firmware cannot be or hardly changed after production. Or hardly changed after production. We can change our software constantly, right? So, next is the hardware is a body of device, right? Just like our phone, laptop, hardware is a body of device, body of our laptop, phone, or other. And our firmware is the heart of our device. Heart of device, just like with on RAM, the firmware is installed before. Without firmware, the RAM cannot work correctly, right? So it is the heart of the device. And whereas software can be very big, while the firmware are usually small. Software can be, because software is used to work on collection of instructions, whereas firmware is a set of instructions, right? Software can be software can be very big, while firmware are usually small. Okay, so example of hardware is keyboard, mouse, remote, or speaker, our laptop, UPS, right? Okay. Hardware cannot operate without firmware. This is our main point. Our hardware cannot be operate without firmware. Okay. So example of our firmware is PC BIOS. BIOS is only appropriate for referring to the startup firmware of the motherboard itself. Only the BIOS word is only used with the motherboard. Timing and control mechanism of washing machine, or we can say TV program and remote. Okay, so the firmware operate on a hardware, right? Hardware cannot operate without firmware. Firmware operate on a hardware. Then example of our software is operating system, Microsoft Office, Firefox, Chrome, etc. Okay, so the main point we have to note about the firmware that BIOS is only appropriate for referring to the startup firmware of the motherboard itself. Okay. So the main is this: the hardware cannot be operated without the firmware. Firmware can operate on the hardware. Okay. So I hope you can understand the difference between hardware, firmware, and software. Thanks for the today. Bye bye.